floor of a building owned by his uncle. Paddy Byrne ran his own pub downstairs, and the floorboards often failed to hold the raucous music and laughter at bay. One of the reasons Paddy allowed his nephew to use this space for his private detective business, and at quite the discount. Any other tenant might object to those late-night disturbances, but as Paddy explained, "You can't complain. The rent is cheap." "As cheap as that swill you serve as beer," Jimmy had once shot back. "Talk to me that way again, and I'll have Maggie wash your mate out with soap." Maggie was Paddy's sister, Jimmy's mother. "Better than your beer." Paddy had been a much-needed father figure throughout Jimmy's teen years, and as he hurtled toward his adult life, the two men could joke about anything, knowing their banter fed good times. And as much as Jimmy appreciated having his uncle a part of his daily life, he couldn't replace the tough-as-nails, heart-as-big-as-Manhattan Joseph McSwain. No one could. Speaking of beer, Jimmy had a sweating green bottle at his side. Yingling. He took a sip while he flipped through the recent articles he'd added to his father's case file. They were from the Post and the Daily News, both of which had covered the Delhi robberies closely, and had, on July 4th, splashed across the front pages the bloody hostage situation which had ended Rashad Assan's reign of terror. A photo of the day's hero stared back at Jimmy. Frasano was dressed in his uniform, slightly disheveled from an afternoon of taking down a killer, but still as sexy as ever. Regret wound its way around the strings of Jimmy's soul, and he wondered, not for the first time, if he'd been hasty in dismissing Frasano from his life and his bed. He stole a look at his iPhone and picked it up. He scrolled through his contacts, landing on Frasano's name. Was there a reason he hadn't deleted the man's personal number? Was he holding on to it because he was secretly wishing that he would once again find comfort in the burly cop's strong arms? Or because he was an influential captain in the NYPD, and might one day be useful in finding out what really happened the morning Joseph McSwain was stolen from him? Because Jimmy couldn't be sure of his motives, he set the phone back down and closed his eyes. Usually he only saw blackness, but today the image of Frasano unspooled before him, their time in an upstate motel when the only thing exploding had been their passion for each other. He could feel that sizzling kiss on his neck, the scrape of his whiskers while slowly unbuttoning his shirt, temptation leading them toward more. Jimmy's eyes flashed open, and suddenly time forced him back to the present. He rose from the floor, finished off his beer, and tossed the empty bottle into a trash bin. Frustration filtered through his system, and he knew he had to do something. Anything. The summer had been quiet, case-wise. 2 simple assignments where he had to trail 2 separate married men whose wives thought they were cheating. Both suspicions turned out to be true. Jimmy filed his reports, took the money, and wondered if anyone was really happy. But the final 2 weeks of August were proving to be quiet. Maybe all of Manhattan was on vacation. Maggie and his pregnant sister Megan were still upstate at Peach Lake, staying at Grandma Hester's cottage. Soon they would both return to work at the Calloway Theatre, since its new show was scheduled to begin previews on September 13th. His other sister, Mallory, was on vacation at some luxury resort. All that meant Jimmy was alone, rattling around his office or at the McSwain apartment over on 10th Avenue, or just stopping during the late hour into Paddy's pub for a pint or 2, as directionless as he was miserable. He hated August. Life was as still as the air. Jimmy McSwain needed something to jumpstart his heart. As he put away his father's file, securing it into the metal cabinet inside the closet, he put on his sneakers and then headed out of his office. Craving company. Maybe he'd just go down to Paddy's and drown his sorrows. That changed when he reached the bar.